Hey guys, Slaptack here and welcome to my T34 Independence review. So in the first half of the video guys, I'll be telling you about the statistics and the armor profile so you can see the weaknesses and the strengths of the T34. I recommend you using the T34 at medium to long ranges because the T34 is an excellent sniper, but when you do get locked in combat at close ranges, you don't have to aim at those weak spots because of the enormous penetration that this gun has. So that is really something helpful. And that's what it really outshines in all other heavy tanks, is the absolutely enormous penetration. So now let's talk about the gun characteristics for the T34. So the T34 is definitely one of the most hard-hitting tanks at tier 8, coming with an average shell penetration of 248mm, which is absolutely monstrous for a tier 8 heavy tank. The average damage is healthy, I should say, for a heavy tank, averaging 400, and the aiming time is 3.4 seconds, which is very long, but tolerable, I should say. The DPM isn't very high compared to other heavy tanks at 1600 damage per minute. So it's not too bad, but you get what you get for that monstrous penetration. So now let's talk about the mobility on the T34. So I wouldn't say it's too bad, but I wouldn't say it's like good enough to go flank in the desert with the mediums kind of good. It gets to the place where a heavy tank needs to be, and that's just, you know, a couple of 100 yards up in the front where the main battle is going to be. You're not going to be doing too much moving in this tank because you want to stay at mid to long ranges in this tank. So the traverse speed on this tank is 22 degrees, which is actually not too bad. The top speed limit on this tank is 35 kilometers, and the rear, I should say, I don't really know why you need to know this, but the top speed while backing up is 12 kilometers. So that isn't too bad mobility, but I wouldn't say you need to be, you know, using it a lot and relying on it. I'd say you need to go to mid to long ranges, kind of in the back on the second line sniping, and providing cover fire for your much more heavily armored tanks. And speaking of heavily armored, let's get into the armor profile of this tank. So we are in Tank Inspector looking at the T34 collision model, and as you can see, there's a lot of green on this tank, so that's why you should always stay in the second line. But anyways, let's get into the armor on this tank. So up in the front here, we have a measly 102mm. That is not much. Pretty much any tier 7 tank and tier 8 tank will be able to punch right through this. And if they can't punch right through that, then they'll just go for this lower plate, or they'll just go right to the side and take out that super thin armor of yours. So basically, you have no armor whatsoever. But there is one thing that'll help you, and that is your turret, but we will get into that later. So, as I said, you've got 70mm on the lower glacis and that little punchy gun, but covering your entire front is 102mm of very thin armor. So, it's I guess, angled okay. I mean, it's not really gonna make a difference, but yeah, it's not very good. In fact, let's just see the difference that it will make. So, the effective armor would be 104mm. 140, excuse me. So that is really not much, but if you look at it down at the lower plate, that's 100mm. So pretty much any tank will be able to go straight through that, your tier or lower. So yeah, not much. So let's go around back to the collision model. So more at the rear of the side of the tank, we have 51mm. And coming in at the front side of the tank, we have 76, excuse me. I guess if you have very bad penetration, aim for the back of the tank. It will actually make a difference, as well as possibly setting it on fire. So always aim at the back at a T34 if you have a clear open shot at its side. So the tracks will absorb some damage, 20mm. So basically, I guess I should show you how to angle it in a more detailed version. So this is how you should angle it against your foes. Same tier or lower, you'll pretty much be able to bounce any shot like that. But if you're pretty much at tier 10, you will have no chance against their huge caliber guns and your very thin armor. So basically just try to find some cover, or go hold down, or stay in the third or second line, because that's just how bad your armor is. But your gun can make a difference. So yeah, anyways, enough with that second line of defense. So we're here for the armor. So we're coming around the back here. We have 51mm, and a little back here we have 19mm. So if you're a tier 1 in a tier 8 game somehow and you fail to with someone, aim at the very, very lower back of that, and you'll be able to penetrate that. So now let's get into the turret, which is very, very well angled, very thick. So that is your only chance of survival. As I said, go hold down, second line defense, and there you go, you have it. So let's mantlets, 279 millimeters. That is a lot of armor. So I guess more at the outline of the mantlet, we have 203, and let's take out that spaced armor. Behind the spaced armor, we have 178 millimeters. So yeah, you have a lot to go through. So let's just see the effective. Let's just see how much effective armor this has. So you'll probably be needing 279 millimeters or more. I mean, look at that. You've got at the bottom plate where it's well angled, 846 millimeters. You're going, no gun can penetrate that. So basically, just don't shoot the turret. That's all I'm saying. And if you're a T34 driver, use your turret. So yeah, lots of armor. But tier 10 tanks can penetrate the cheeks of the tank, 178 millimeters. Even though it is very well angled, it's not really going to save you against tier 10 tanks. I guess if it's more well angled on this side, you have 127. Again, from the front, very well angled. Even if you're just doing like this, you're pretty well angled against lower tiers. But against higher tiers and the same tier, and you angle it just slightly, they'll have a huge shot right there on your probably least well angled spot on the turret. So yeah, on the top, I don't really think you need to worry about that, but 38 millimeters. Also, this little hatch up here is a weak spot. I wouldn't say it's super weak, especially against lower tiers, but for the same tier and higher, that's pretty much your biggest enemy, is a little hatch up at the top. For lower tiers, if you have a super accurate gun, then you'll be able to hit that. But other than that, you gotta stay clear of that lower spot on the mantlet, or on the turret. So on the back of the turret, we have 203 millimeters. So the back of the turret is more well armored than the side for some reason. Although it isn't angled, so yeah, you pretty much it doesn't have as much effective armor, so to say. So that is pretty much it for the armor profile of this tank. Yeah, let's look at the internal crew here, or internal modules. So as you can see, ammo racks all at the side, engine laced at the back here, fuel tanks right beside there, and basically the engine is probably the most vulnerable spot here, as well as the ammo rack. Basically, it's right on the turrets, so the engine and the turrets are not the engine, sorry, the engine and the ammo racks are the most vulnerable thing on your tank, module-wise. Your crew here will be shot at a lot here. The loader, the gunner, and the commander, I don't think I've ever gotten them taken out before. Ever. Because the turret is what's hiding them. So, basically, you never get shot in the turret, so that means you guys never die. Your commander up here does get shot at a lot. People try to shoot at that, but they always do end up missing because, obviously, bad aim. Or just very inaccurate guns. But anyways, your driver, radio operator, they're gone just all the time. I wouldn't say a lot, but I would definitely say 1 out of 5 games you're definitely going to get a dead driver or radio operator. But anyways, that is pretty much it for the armor profile. Now, let us get into some gameplay. Alright, so now we are on Port Bay in our T34 1776, and we are hopefully going to rock and roll in this tank. But one more thing that I might have to confess to you guys, I am not very good in this tank at all. I am very terrible. In fact, this is the only game I'll be showing you, and this isn't a very good game at all. However, I did manage to get the mastery badge on the first game I played this tank, did 4k damage, got a top gun, mastery badge, first battle, but, that's about the only good game. Well, I think I've had a total of 7 good games in this tank, and that's about it. And I really didn't record any of them, so yeah, this is about the only game that I got. And really, the T34 is just not my style of play. It's slow rate of fire, it's slow aim time, it's bad mobility, it's terrible armor. Is just what weighs me down. That is not my style of play. My style of play is more relying on the mobility and armor and not the gun. And this is exactly what you have to rely on, is the gun. And that's not me. I really have to adapt to the gun later. It doesn't really matter for me for the gun. So for all the people who basically don't rely on guns, this is a very beginner friendly tank. So for those just starting out, this is actually a great tank to get. But other than that, for more, I guess, so to say, experienced players, I wouldn't recommend this tank, actually. Not at all. I actually despise tier 8 just because of the matchmaking. I'm terrible in it. I'd say tier 10 is more my style of play. But yes, but enough excuses, guys. Let's just say I'm terrible in this tank. Now, that was a quite exciting intro there. We had a, I guess, loose Cromwell, who decided to end his life pretty quickly in the game. Decided to scout, I suppose, for his team, and he certainly did the job. Now, the enemies have pushed into our spawn, and now we must defend it. Otherwise, we'll be flanked pretty harshly, so we're going to have to go back to our spawn and take the enemies out. Now, our enemies are surrounding us here. Put a good, nice shot to the Panther there. That Panther's going to be really pesky later in the game, but the T20 is going to be more pesky. But anyways, as you can see on the mini-map, our enemies are trying to surround us there. The M6 and the T20 are putting side shots. Fortunately for us, we have good teammates. We're holding these guys and keeping them at bay. Now, basically, I'm just kind of exchanging damage here. This is what I'll be doing kind of throughout the game, just because I have no style of play in this thing whatsoever. But anyways, so I'm looking for a shot. I'm really wasting time here. I have plenty of shots to take, but I'm just not using them. So M6 puts a shot into my side. I return fire, put another shot, way bigger shell right into his side. So that was actually a nice exchange there. So the M6 is badly wounded. Backed up a bit too much there. It was a pretty newbie mistake. Move up in front, hopefully from the Panther. There he is, and we, as I said, exchanging damage throughout the entire game. So now things are getting a bit harsh here. Our allies, you can't really see them right now, but they're getting critically low on health there. Centurion, out of nowhere, decides to push up randomly. Had a shot there. I should have backed up a bit quicker. Bounced the Panther there. There's really no way he was going to pen that. Centurion makes a bit of a bad move there. Although he does take out my ammo rack and my track, so I had to fix those. And we're back in action now. So that was, as I said, trading damage again. I traded damage a lot in this tank, actually. That's probably the bad part. So this Panther's getting on my nerves. I decided to take him out of the game. And now it's just a Centurion and a T20. How hard could they be? Well, as you can see, our allies are very low. And there goes our KV-1S. There goes our Panther buddy. And now we are all down but to 2 tanks. And if you look back, our T34 is on very, very low health, so I'm going to have to take this Centurion guy on my own and basically have to carry this game throughout. So the Centurion makes a bit of a mistake there by moving up because he doesn't want to get shot by the T44, but he moves up straight into my gun. Now, this T20 actually might kill me, so I might have to signal for some help. Fortunately, the T44 has my back and he's sniping in the back. Not very helpful, really. The T20 has terrible penetration, and the T44 actually has decent armor, so I'd say the right move for him would actually to be face-hugging that T20 and save me, but really, it doesn't really matter now. So, I had to exchange damage there. I have to keep my alpha damage up. I have to help this T44, but now we have the T20. So, the T44 finally decides to push up, thankfully, and he is dead. So, the T44 put one last shot into him, but it doesn't matter because we now have him, and we ammo rack him for 11 damage. Very, very unnecessary, I guess. So that was it for this replay and review, I should say. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Sorry I haven't uploaded a video, by the way. I've been very busy this summer. I'm always busy in the summer with sports and stuff like that and traveling. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.